Sport 24 editor Garen Lamley and chief writer Rob Howing join us in studio this Monday morning to discuss some of the results from the weekend and other big stories making the sporting headlines. Gents, good morning. Thank you very much for coming in. Rather bittersweet weekend on the sporting front. Rob, of course, we had Joost's memorial on Friday, some really fitting tributes to him over the past week. We had the Proteas reaching number one in the ODI rankings, and then at the self-same Loftus we had some of the worst scenes of hooliganism in the PSL. Let's start with that. I see the PSL released a statement after Pirates fans took exception to their side going down 6-love, and massive brawls breaking out, and Nyala's coming onto the field, and they've obviously released the statement condemning the violence. What is the latest there? How were these fans able to get onto the field?
Well, of course, these days, without sort of fencing, I suppose we're going to revisit the issue of security at football. As we know, the world over, since Hillsborough, there's been that massive turnaround towards more sort of open stadiums, if you like, which simply means sort of better policing around the perimeters to stop people from getting onto the field. But of course, there's only so much that security officials can do. You can only have so many security officials. And I've watched a little bit of the video from the sort of tumult at Loftus, which did make for pretty unedifying viewing, I've got to say. It started with clearly a bit of, as the goals started raining in. We know that Orlando Pirates are on a real downer at the moment, and their fans was frankly just getting a bit fed up. And of course, leaking 6 goals to Sundowns, not what they wanted. So you started to see a few missiles, usually initially of the sort of softer kind, coming onto the field, and then of course some slightly sort of harder objects, perhaps seats ripped up, who knows, and then of course an invasion, which of course lends itself to real sort of danger. You saw players sort of scattering, heading for the tunnel as quickly as they could, and some very unedifying scenes, especially when the Sundowns fans, or some of them anyway, got involved. Let's face it, I think it was probably a minority of Pirates fans who caused the trouble, and probably a minority of Sundowns fans who then got involved as well. And then we saw these horrible sort of pitch battles, which nobody wants to see on a football field. And they were actually out of character. I've got to say, I was disappointed and surprised, because generally the PSL is marked by quite a good spirit between fans. We don't have the sort of animosities that exist in a lot of other places in the world, and long may that continue. I mean, you can go to a Soweto derby, wherever it's staged, Chiefs Pirates, and the fans mingle, and there's usually a good nature, good vibe. It just happened to be kind of I'm not justifying it, but I think it was almost the last straw. Pirates were clearly irked by events of the last sort of 6 or 7 matches, where they've been winless and on a real sort of downer. And I saw a few tweets saying that perhaps the events at Sona had encouraged people to sort of take the law into their own hands, thinking, well, if our parliamentarians can get up to all sorts of skullduggery in the sort of corridors of power, then why not at a sports match? But let's not try to sort of make light of it. There were some really horrible scenes there. Hopefully you'll get a few culprits brought to book by sort of, especially examination of video footage. But apparently it was pretty nasty, and so anyone who was there, especially with younger fans and so on, would have been pretty worried about events. And the PSL has reacted a little bit belatedly, and the usual talk of sort of probing its investigations. But interesting to see what happens. I hope it doesn't become sort of some sort of cyclical thing. That it was a one-off, because generally speaking, as I say, I think behaviour at PSL games is pretty good, and I hope that trend will continue.